All right, I'm Kyle with Schaefer Electric, kind of going over the main points of the electrical service, which in our eyes is the heart of the building. This is where all your power comes from. This is the main breaker. If I shut this off right now, all the power will go off and the generator will kick on, and only you will have emergency power. That's it. And this breaker is a gas charge breaker, so if it is turned off, you have to take this handle, pump it 4 or 5 times, and this little window here will say charged. Right now it's white, it's discharged. And once this clicks to charged, then you'd push this and power would come back on to the whole building. Hopefully you found out what the problem was as to why it tripped in the first place. So once you charge this up, it sends power basically to everything else, all these other breakers that are feeding other panels in the building. So this breaker here is actually, you can kind of follow the pipes up and over, and it drops down into that section over there. And that is all of the transformers on every floor that transform it from 480 volts down to 120 volts. So all your lighting is 277, 480. All your AC equipment, all the big equipment is going to be 277 or 480. That includes the Instahots in the bathroom, and I'm trying to think, and all the lighting. So those will all be 277. This one comes over here. From here, it will be feeding transformers on each floor. This gives you all the 120, 208 volt power on each floor. So for example, this breaker here is feeding this transformer. This does its work, and it transforms it to 120, 208. And so everything coming out of here is 120, 208. And that will be the same on every floor. That's all your regular, that's what your computers will run on. That's what any regular household outlet will run on, the 120 volts. You can see these are labeled transformer T1 to DB1. Anything with a number on it will correspond to that particular floor. So transformer 2 to DB2, that's transformer 2, which is feeding a panel on second floor. 3, 4, 5, the same thing. There's a couple spares here. They're not being used for anything. Once it goes through the distribution board on each floor, it will hit a smaller panel. And if we open it up and check it out, you'll see these are all smaller breakers. These would be the ones that you would mostly have problems with people plugging too much in, vacuum cleaners, or if you have 3 heaters. In one outlet, you are going to trip a breaker that is designed to protect you. So if it does its job, it's going to trip. So it may have just saved your life. This is where the most your problems will be. These are in the off position, on position. When it trips, you know, some certain types of breakers have a red line that will appear. These don't, but it will simply be in the middle position. If you come over and the breaker is in the middle position, you see one of them that looks different than all the rest, turn it all the way off, wait a second, and then turn it back on, and that should solve your problem, as long as you don't have those heaters still plugged in, or the vacuum. Okay, and it's pretty much the same on every floor. We can go up to the second floor now, and I will show you what the individual floors look like. Okay, good. And on every floor, you're going to have a panel that's 277, 480, but right now it's just being used for lighting. This is all 277. The signage out front will be coming off of these panels, these H panels, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the general lighting. As the TI progresses and they start putting in more lights, then they'll start using more of these breakers. But that's going to be about it for right now. This one has some elevator pit lighting on it as well. Not all the floors will have that because it's only on the first floor. All right. And then moving this way, this panel is feeding a panel up on the roof. So there are some panels up on the very top by the elevator machine room, and the electrical room up there is being fed from down here. This one is feeding the freight elevator. That's on normal power. Now if I turn this breaker off, it's going to sense that there's no power going to that elevator, and it will kick on the generator, And that is why we said turning this breaker off will start the generator. Over here, it's the same thing. Turning this breaker off will start the generator because it is being fed from a couple different places, like I said. Best thing with these bigger breakers, the 277, if you don't know, probably leave it alone because there is a potential for danger, more so than the 120 volt normal circuit breakers like are at your house that you will have more problems with. Okay, so we're on the second floor electrical room right now, and this is a transfer switch. There's another transfer switch outside by the generator that runs the freight elevator. This particular transfer switch is doing the emergency panel. So this panel has regular power going to it and the generator power. So if we turn one of those breakers off downstairs, it will kick that generator on, it will transfer power in here and power up this panel. Right now, there is mostly lighting coming off of here. You can see there's the core lighting, we called it the core lighting, and then again, this will change once the TI starts adding their lighting in here. The general lighting, half of the lights in the bathrooms are on from the generator, so if you lose power, half the lights in the bathroom will come on, pretty much. And then the soffit lights will come on as well. Outside, all the exit signs will come on and the stairwell lights will come on. Even if they're in off position, they're built so that when they lose power, this transfers over and power will automatically come on, even if the switch is in the off position. This also feeds, there's an emergency panel in the parking structure, and there's another transfer switch in there too. So it's coming out of this panel and feeds over to that parking structure. So that takes care of that. Make sure to lock it up. Prying hands. Over here, this is going to be typical setup on every floor. So from our main board downstairs, there's power that's coming up into this disconnect. There's fuses in here that will protect this transformer. If I shut this off, it will shut off this transformer, which is feeding all the 120 208 volt plugs and power on this whole floor. So that's fire dampers right now, and the plugs in the mechanical room, the bathrooms, and a couple other, and the general plugs outside. So every floor is going to have a disconnect like this that is fused, a transformer, and then a distribution board like this one here. Right now, if I shut this is the main, this will shut off all the breakers. Right now we're just using this breaker, which is panel L2A. So if I shut this off, this panel will go off, everything will die that is not on the emergency backup. All right, and then if we look into this panel again, it's just like the one downstairs. Just regular breakers. There's the fire alarm control panels are all locked in on position all the time, and then you just refer to the panel schedule to see what else is being turned on and off from that panel. This will grow as the TI keeps rolling. So if there is something that's not working, first place you look, panel schedule. That'll give you an idea. Look for a tripped breaker and turn it off, turn it back on, and that really works in this case. And then moving along, same thing on every floor. This is that panel H2, like the H1 panel downstairs. 277 480, going to be mostly lighting right now. There's a mechanical room lights in the bathrooms. And then on this floor we have the Nickelodeon sign is powered from here, and the Finn sign. So we have the brains of the Nickelodeon sign, which is being fed from the 120 volt panel because it just plugs in, and then this is the actual power to that sign. So I think that pretty much sums up what's going on every floor.